Hey there, Rachel Cook here, business growth strategist for women entrepreneurs. And I'm so excited. Today is my very first official day of my Facebook Live show. We are changing things up around here. If you have been following me for a little while, then you probably are familiar with my podcast, Uncomplicate Your Business. And this year, I've decided that I'm going to shake things up a little bit and start recording the podcast live here on Facebook so that I can engage with you guys a bit more. So I'm starting and kicking off a few minutes early. It's not quite 12 o'clock, but I want to make sure that I had a chance to say hi, hello, and let people actually join us. So if you're just joining me now and you saw maybe a Facebook post or an Instagram post or my email, I would love to hear from you. What does a big enough business mean to you? What does a big enough business mean to you? Go ahead and answer in the comments below. And let me know how that lands for you. I'd love to know, what does big enough business mean for you? Because that is our topic of today. This is all based on a post that I wrote a while ago. Actually, it's been a couple years ago, and it had such a big reception that it became one of the foundational pieces of content, just the way that I wanted to direct what I'm talking about with everybody. So what a big enough business means to me, we're about to hear more of that when we officially kick off in just a few minutes. But I'd love to know if you are joining me live. Please pop in the comments and say hello. Let me know where you're joining me from. I want to make sure everybody can see and hear me okay. And that way, when we kick off right at 12 o'clock Eastern, I know that everything is working. So if you're joining me live, please let me know. And if you happen to see my newsletter today or an email or Facebook or Instagram, something sharing today's Facebook Live, I would love to know from you, what does a big enough business mean to you? What does that sound like to you? Hi, Anna Marie. Awesome. I take it that you can hear me and see me then, so that's excellent. I've done several Facebook Lives. You guys might have seen Facebook Lives I've been doing recently. Been doing a lot of them this summer just to kind of experiment and play around with the platform. But I have to say, making this big decision, this commitment to show up every single Thursday to share Uncomplicate Your Business live, I was literally talking myself out of it last night, talking myself out of it this morning, and I just had to show up and just do it. So I want to let you guys know that if you are like me and you're making those big, scary leaps, we all make them. We all have to make those big, scary leaps and feel the fear and do it anyway. It's never going to go away. It really isn't. So I hope that inspires you. If there's something you've been thinking about doing for yourself or for your business this fall, I encourage you to just set the date and make it happen. That's why I'm showing up today. It was on my calendar. A newsletter was already written. Social media graphics were already created. I set the date and I just followed through, even though it's really scary. It feels really scary. So I'm really excited to be kicking off these weekly Facebook Lives. You can find it every week at Thursday. You'll see the little reminder post go up a couple of days before. And I'm really, really excited to talk today about why a big enough business is the key to designing a business and a life that you truly, truly love. So we'll give everybody another minute here to join us live. And if you are with me, please let me know in the comments where you're joining me from. Talk to me a little bit. That's one big reason why I'm making this shift from recording the podcast kind of in my office without talking to anybody to doing Facebook Live, is I want to be able to interact with you guys and hear from, actual people. It's one of the challenges of running an online business is you tend to get hidden away and not really get to talk to the people who are, following you or on your email list or whatever that might be. So I wanted to create a new way, a new medium for me to connect with everybody. Even though it is scary and I'm being totally vulnerable right now, even though I'll come up with a million excuses not to do it, I'm really excited about this new transition, new way of doing my Uncomplicate Your Business show. Hey there, Jamie. Welcome. All right. Well, it is noon on the dot, so I'm ready to get started. I'm ready to dive right in with everybody. So welcome everybody to Uncomplicate Your Business, a weekly show here on Facebook where we're keeping things simple and strategic to design a business and life on your terms. Today, we're talking about why a big enough business is the key to really designing a business and a life that you love. And this is one of my absolute favorite topics. It's a topic that I have been passionate about for so long because there's so much hype, right? There is just so much hype out there about growing a 6-figure or a 7-figure business. We hear about these incredible, huge launches. And we hear things all the time like, reach and impact millions. Don't let your small business make you small-minded. You see people who are talking about overnight success stories where I made 7 figures in 7 months. And I have to say that because I've been in this industry, I've been in this world for over 10 years now, what you see on social media, what you see on people's fancy websites, it is just such a tiny piece of the puzzle. It's such a small part of the picture. We all see the end result. We see the dollar bills. We see their lavish lifestyle. We see all the success and all of the, trimmings of success. And it's really easy to believe when you see Instagram pictures full of people flying off to, Fiji for a conference, or you see pictures of people with their expensive Teslas. Like, this is stuff that comes up in our world all the time. It's really easy to believe that bigger is better and that the 6-figure, 7-figure, even 8-figure business equals finally having that freedom that we've all been seeking. The freedom is the reason why so many of us start our business. But here's the problem that I see. Success, it's so easy to get caught up in the myth that more money equals more happiness. And in the conversations between myself and my business besties, I have seen a completely different perspective. And this is going to resonate, especially if you, like me, have been focused on a lifestyle business. So a lifestyle business is a business that is designed 100% to support your desired lifestyle. And that means having the schedule you want, living where you want to live, being able to pursue all of the things that give you a beautifully full life. So a lifestyle business is actually what so many people start their business for. They just want freedom and flexibility. And I have to say there's a little bit of truth to that saying, more money, more problems, especially as a business owner, because when you cross that territory from, 6 figures to the high 6 figures to 7 figures and up and up and up, your business is no longer just about doing what you love. Your business is no longer about spending all your time pursuing your passion. Because when you get into that territory, when you're shifting into multiple 6 and 7 figures, your focus starts to shift from you becoming a practitioner, somebody who's doing the thing that you're doing when you start your business, to becoming a CEO, to growing a team, to managing people, to scaling your business so that you can reach and make more. And so all of these conversations I've been having with women entrepreneurs really makes me wonder, does bigger actually mean better, or is big enough enough? So I don't know if you've heard this parable, but I heard it a long time ago about the CEO and the fisherman. And I want to read it to you really quickly because It's one of those stories that can make such a huge impact in the way you decide to design your business. So here it goes. A successful CEO was on vacation, and he was at the pier of a small coastal village where a small boat with just one fisherman was docked. Inside the small boat were several large yellowfin tuna. The CEO complimented the fisherman on the quality of his fish and asked how long it took him to catch them. The fisherman proudly replied, "Every morning I go out on my boat for 30 minutes to fish. I'm the best fisherman in the village." The CEO, perplexed, asked the fisherman, "Well, if you're the best, why don't you stay out longer and catch more fish? What do you do the rest of the day?" And the fisherman replied, "I sleep late, I fish a little, I play with my children, spend quality time with my wife, and every evening we stroll in the village to drink wine and play guitar with our friends. I have a full and happy life." The CEO scoffed, "I'm a successful CEO and have a talent for spotting business opportunities. I can help you be more successful. You should spend more time fishing, and with the proceeds, buy a bigger boat. And with the proceeds from a bigger boat, you can buy several boats. Eventually, you'll have a whole fleet of fishing boats with many fishermen. Instead of selling your catch to your friends, you can scale to sell fish to thousands of people. You can leave this small coastal fishing village and move to the big city where you can oversee your growing empire." The fisherman asks, "But how long will this all take?" To which the CEO replied, 15 to 20 years. "But then what?" asked the fisherman. The CEO laughed, "Well, that's the best part. When the time is right, you announce an IPO, you sell the company stock to the public, and you become very rich. You would make millions." "Millions, then what?" The CEO says, "Well, then you retire. You move to a small coastal village where you'd sleep late, fish a little, play with your kids, and spend time with your wife, strolling into the village in the evenings where you can sip wine and play guitar with your friends." So, the fisherman here is a lifestyle entrepreneur. His entire purpose for being a fisherman is to simply sustain a full and beautiful life. And the CEO is telling him about these huge opportunities to sell fish to thousands and thousands and thousands of people and make millions of dollars. But he would have to postpone his full and beautiful life in order to make that happen. So I first heard this story when I was coming out of my MBA track, when I realized that going the traditional consulting route, which is what many people coming out of their MBA programs do, I realized that I would be putting my life on hold for 30 years. That's how long my career would be from the time I was, 25 graduating with my MBA, maybe even 40 years if I had to work till I was 65. Holy cow, I would have to rent away the best years of my life until I was successful enough to scale back from my 60 to 80-hour work weeks, and then finally enjoy, like the fisherman did, my full and happy life. I didn't want to do that. I was just like, no. I was looking at people who were years and years ahead of me in that world, and I just said, you know what? That is not for me. My definition of success is bigger than how many zeros are behind my paycheck. I wanted the full and happy life. So what if you want to have that full and happy life? What if there are things in your life you want to enjoy? And for me, what if there's a season of life that you really want to savor? What if you're in a season of life like I am? I've got small children. My twins are 7. My little guy is 4. And I knew before I had children that I wanted to be able to spend those first years with them. I knew that those precious first years were very, very important to me. So what would it look like if we took all the pressure off? All the pressure to be successful, where the only measure of success is about money, and we stopped letting the only measure of success being the bottom line. That's what a big enough business is. So I'm a huge fan of a big enough business. The goal of a lifestyle business, the goal of business and lifestyle design, what I do, is to create a business you love that loves you back. And a business that loves you back, it's all about a business that actually provides for you, that lets you do what you love with people you love working with, and it creates space. It creates that white space for what really matters most to you. So over and over again, I hear from women who start their business to create more freedom and flexibility for themselves and their family. And yes, they want to be able to make money, but somewhere on the entrepreneurial journey, they don't feel free. They feel trapped by the business they've created. And when you model your business and your version of success on what others are doing, when you buy into all the hype, at some point you really do realize that one size truly doesn't fit all. So I realized this a while ago when I first started thinking about a big enough business, when I was interviewed by John Lee Dumas at Entrepreneur on Fire. I don't know if you guys listen to Entrepreneur on Fire. It's very inspiring. He definitely brings on some incredible entrepreneurs who are doing incredible things. People who are hitting multiple 6-figure, 7-figure businesses, who are having incredible launches, who are reaching thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And in a short time, John has really grown Entrepreneur on Fire a lot. I mean, it's a very inspirational story to see his business grow. One thing I've always loved about his business is he shares these income reports. And I have mixed feelings on income reports sometimes, but what I really love is this is a great way to figure out what's really happening under the hood of his business. And what I really love about John's income reports on Entrepreneur on Fire is he shares, or at least he did share when I last checked, he shares how much they're working, how many hours they're actually working each month. And that's really helpful to see, okay? Because when you look at his income reports, especially several years ago when he was breaking into the high 6- and 7-figure territory, you realize that he and his partner were both working like 50 plus hours a week. And that wasn't even a busy time for them. That was normal work hours, was the 50 plus hours a week. And I'm sure if they were going through a big launch or something else, that those hours increased. And in fact, I hear from a lot of big entrepreneurs that that's what happens for them. They're hitting 7-figure businesses very, very quickly, but they're putting in the 50, the 60, the 70, the 80 hour weeks. And that's a pretty big reality check. It was for me when I looked at that and I realized I have to model what I'm doing. I have to look for people who are actually doing what I want to do, who are living the lifestyle that I want to live, which does not mean working 50, 60, 70-hour weeks. I've done that. I've been there and I burned out big, big time. So looking under the hood of some of those successful businesses you want to model, you get a clearer picture of what goes on behind the scenes to get to that level of success. And you have to know these things in order to decide if this is a good fit for you and your business. Because if it's not, you are going to be really frustrated and overwhelmed and burned out when you're trying to squeeze a model into 20 hours a week or 30 hours a week that person had to work 80 hours a week for. It doesn't matter how productive you are. It might not work out so well, and you might find yourself really frustrated. So while I think people like John and a lot of other entrepreneurs out there are super inspiring, I also know it's not for me. And it's not for me, especially at this season of my life. And I'd love to hear from you guys. If it's this season of your life, you want a little bit more ease. You want a little bit more of a slow pace, a little bit of a calmer lifestyle. And for me, I really don't have 50 or 60 hours that I'm willing to put into my business at this point. Not because I don't love my business, but because I have a family, because I have some health conditions, including, recovering from adrenal fatigue and some other challenges that I physically cannot work like that. So for me, my cap literally before my brain fog sets in is maybe 4 or 5 hours a day. So I know I'm capped at that 25-hour-ish week to protect myself and my energy and spend time with my family and have time for the things that matter most to me. So I've designed my business to be big enough. It's big enough to support my lifestyle for myself and my family. And I'll be the first to tell you, we are not millionaires, not by any stretch, but we live a comfortable lifestyle, and it's a comfortable lifestyle that has allowed us to fully support my family, where my husband was able to quit his job as a 7th grade English teacher about 3 years ago now and come home to work with me behind the scenes in the business and really be a full-time stay-at-home dad, which is incredible. I really have been so incredibly blessed to be able to do that. But we can now spend more time where our priorities are, which is our family, our kids, making sure that we have that quality time, spending time with our friends. These are all the priorities for us. And in fact, this past year, I'm now going into year 2 of being a Girl Scout troop leader for my 2nd grade daughter. I wanted to be able to spend more time with her, and I wouldn't be able to have that freedom and flexibility if it wasn't for designing my business to be big enough. We're able to take vacations, and honestly, they're not lavish, expensive vacations. Most of our vacations are going to see family. So it's a lifestyle business that supports us. And the best part of it is we don't have to put off our dreams of enjoying our life and spending time with our family until some mythical day off in the future when, we finally hit retirement. We're able to do those things now. In fact, this past summer, we spent 2 whole weeks going on an adventure with our entire family. We took the kids, we took my mom to Chincoteague to go to their famous pony penning. If you don't know about Chincoteague Island in Virginia, it's a really, really amazing little island off the coast of Virginia where there's wild ponies. And we had so much fun. But I would never have been able to have, a whole 2-week vacation with my whole family if I didn't have this kind of flexibility, if I didn't design my business this way. So we have the space and the time and the flexibility to enjoy our life right now. We don't just live for the weekend or vacations. I wanted to make sure each and every day we're investing time into our values, which is my family, my health, which is so crucial for me just because of the challenges I've had in the past, our relationships, our creativity, adventure, fun. My business is big enough because 25 hours in a week gets a return on investment that supports a comfortable lifestyle that we really love. So I'm excited to dive into some of the comments here that you guys are leaving. So I just want to say, don't get me wrong on this. A big enough business doesn't mean that you're not coming up with ideas all the time or that you're being lazy, right? Far from it. If you are an entrepreneur, then you are likely an idea-making machine. You love nothing more than coming up with new ideas. You love brainstorming new ideas. But here's the piece. Because you know your priorities, because you know what's most important to you and where you want to invest your time and energy, you get intentional. You get intentional about what you're doing. And for me, that's been getting very intentional about growing at a steady, sustainable pace. For me, it's probably felt a lot closer or a lot slower. For me personally, it feels slower than maybe I would like to. And I'm always fighting this internal battle between my ambition and what I know I'm capable of, and also my need for ease, my need for relaxation, my need to take care of myself. So I have to be very intentional around my business. I have to make sure that each new idea I pursue is in alignment with my definition of success. So that's the key here for a big enough business. It allows you to create more steady, sustainable growth. Instead of finding yourself in emergency mode, 911, all the sirens are firing off, and you feel like you're just putting out fires all the time in your business, you take your time and you find the right people who can support you and who can help you in designing the systems and the structure that you need to deliver an incredible experience. without having to burn yourself out doing it all yourself. Running a big enough business, it really lets you to live in your business sweet spot. This is so huge because so often entrepreneurs find themselves working in areas that aren't their zone of genius, and they spend so much of their time and energy wanting to pull their hair out and throw their laptop out the window because they're not doing the things that they're actually meant to do in the world. So when you're in your business sweet spot, that intersection between your passion, your purpose, and the people you're meant to serve, you really, really love every minute of your work. You do less of the stuff that you're not great at, less of the stuff that pulls your hair out, and more of the things you actually love. And then you're not pulled in a million directions where you're dealing with a lot of the things that are not your zone of genius. Running a big enough business often means that, you do have to make those hard decisions about where you're going to focus your time and energy. And this is so hard because, we have to say no and really flex those no muscles. In fact, I just had a call with my mastermind group yesterday, and one of the biggest things we talked about was the importance of saying no and getting used to saying no and getting used to turning people down for seemingly simple opportunities or coffee dates or whatever is holding you back and eating up your bandwidth. You have to protect it fiercely. And if you struggle with protecting things fiercely, if you struggle with protecting your time, you have to find somebody who can help you protect your time. That's what my amazing community concierge, Lane, does for me. She protects me from the things that will eat up my time, like hanging out in my inbox. She will literally send me a note saying, Rach, I see you in there. Get out of this inbox. And sometimes you have to say no to bigger things too. A few years ago, I actually pressed pause on all one-on-one coaching so that I could dedicate more energy into my signature online mastermind sweet spot strategy. And that felt so hard because for a long time, that was a big chunk of my revenue. And yes, I could have added, 2 or 3 hours to my day in order to keep my one-on-one work going at the same time as I wanted to grow this. But I knew that for me, that wasn't a trade-off I could make. It not only took time away from my kids, but honestly, the biggest part of that is it took time away from my self-care. It took time away from me having the quiet time I needed. It took time away from me making sure my health priorities are in check. And that is, at the end of the day, for me, it's everything. Because if my adrenal fatigue kicks in, if my anxiety gets terrible, I cannot do anything. And pretty much all the other things in my life hinge on me taking care of my health. So at this point, you do have to learn how to say no. You have to get very clear on what your definition of success is. And I did another Facebook Live about this a little while ago. Go back and find the definition of success Facebook Live. Because when you know your definition of success in all these different areas of your life, your family, your relationships, your health, your lifestyle, it's easier to say no and you get more used to it because now you're fiercely protecting what really matters most to you. And the other thing I'll say is a big enough business doesn't mean you're not ambitious. This is a battle I fight with myself all the time. This is the internal battle. I am a type A, straight A student, graduated magna cum laude with my MBA. I am an achiever. So I am constantly fighting this battle between my ambition and my need for more ease. My ambition and my need for more ease are like boom, 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 boom. It is so hard for me. And I am constantly fighting it. So a big enough business doesn't mean that you're not ambitious. It doesn't mean that growth isn't something you want for yourself. It just means you're prioritizing that ambition right alongside the life that you really want to have for yourself. So when my kids were younger, when I first found out I was pregnant with twins, my big enough business was smaller. It was down here. It's like a little baby big enough business with my baby twins. And my big enough business at that point did not need to be multiple six figures, because at that point, my husband was working full time. He was teaching English full time in 7th grade. So we had things covered. We had a lifestyle we needed. I was, matching his pay. So together we created the lifestyle we needed. And it seems like each stage of growth with my family, each stage of growth with my kids, I also am able to grow a little bit. I'm more ready and more able to let the ambitious side of me rise up a little bit. The part of me that really wants to make a huge impact and come out even more and be more and more visible as my kids are older. And now, oh my gosh, you guys, my twins just went into 2nd grade. It's week 1 of school. My little guy starts preschool next week. I feel like we are jumping into a whole new stage that has taken me, almost 8 years of juggling very small children and a growing business. So it's okay to let your business evolve. It's okay to grow slowly. So my question for you now, and I'd love to hear from you guys, is how big is your big enough business? And I think this is such an important question to ask yourself. And it's something I want you to spend a little bit of time with. If you don't have a quick answer for me, I'd love you to share with me. But it's so easy. And, I see this all the time. It's so easy to look at what everyone else is telling you need to create, that you need to have a 6-figure business, or now multiple 6-figure, 7-figure. Suddenly I started seeing ads for 8-figure businesses. But you really do need to press pause on all of that and look at how big is your big enough business need to be? What does it actually look like for you? So like I said, when I first started, my big enough business was only 15 hours a week. That was the childcare I had available. And I only needed to bring in $2,500 a month. This was 2010. My husband was working full time. So I just needed to match his take-home pay and make sure that we had our needs met. And as my kids got older, that has grown. And I started to let my vision get bigger once I got out of that new mom fog. And my husband started getting excited about the progress we were making. And we started talking about growing the business to the point where he could leave his job to become a stay-at-home dad, which I have to say, I love it. I love having a stay-at-home dad, a stay-at-home husband. He is amazing. And he is a big part of the reason I'm able to take care of myself and keep this ship running, keep all the things moving. So with that vision, the big enough business grew, right? Like suddenly I'm not just supplementing his income or matching his income. I had to replace his income and all the benefits and all the extra things. So we were decided years before he left his job, probably about 2 years before he left his job, we decided it was time to grow the business to the point where we could replace his income and all of the benefits and all of the things so that he could stay home and help me out. And it took us another couple of years to get there. And then that big enough business could support us. It supported our lifestyle. It supports paying for preschool and Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and family vacation and our health insurance, all of those things. So those numbers might change for your big enough business. Crunch the numbers for yourself. I've gone from starting at $2,500 a month all the way up to our family needs about $8,000 to $10,000 a month in order to pay for all of the things. Health insurance, holy cow, you guys. Health insurance for a family of 5 is not inexpensive. So that's something I want you to keep in mind. A big enough business can grow, and it can grow over time. It doesn't mean that you need to sacrifice what matters most to you right now in order to have the success you really, really want for yourself. So if you aren't sure how to figure out what size your big enough business should be, here's a couple of things for you to consider as we start to wrap up today's little Facebook Live. And I hope you've enjoyed joining me. I am going to pop in and answer questions as I wrap up. But 3 quick questions for you. First, how many hours do you really want to work each week? How many hours do you really want to work each week? This is so important. If you don't know your capacity, you don't have a frame of reference for what's going to work for you or not work for you. When you're going out there looking at strategies, when you're brainstorming, you have to know your capacity, or else you're going to come up with ideas that aren't a fit. And that leads to a lot of stress, a lot of late nights, a lot of, pulling your hair out. I knew when I first got started, I had 15 hours a week because I could depend on my husband, who is a teacher, to walk in the door at 3:00, and I could start work, actually get on the phone with clients from 3 to 6 every single day, 5 days a week. And that's what I did. That was my 15-hour work week, all dependent on the time my husband had available, and that I absolutely knew I had childcare. As I grew, my capacity grew. I started to be able to afford a babysitter, a nanny, or whatever, put the kids in preschool. Suddenly I was able to grow from 15 to 20 and then 20 to 25. And then I realized I don't need to work more than that. So you need to really ask yourself, what is your capacity? It's also important to not just look at this from a scheduling perspective, but from an energetic perspective, and what else do you need to do with your life, with your days? Because like I said, I have a health condition that means I really can't do more than 4 or 5 hours before my brain is just so foggy that I'm not even productive. So I have to consider that when I'm looking at my big enough business and what makes sense for it at the stage the business is in, at the stage my life is in. Okay, so I'd love to hear from you. How many hours are you looking at? The next question you need to ask yourself is, how big is your big enough business in terms of revenue? Now, this one can be tricky for a lot of people because they'll just pull like a number out of thin air, and it's not necessarily a number based on any sort of metrics or any sort of information. So here's what I would do to get this number. The easiest way to get the number for your big enough business in terms of revenue is to look at, one, what does it cost to sustain you? Like, what do you actually need to pay yourself in order for this business to work? Because if it doesn't sustain you, you will not be in business very long. Like, I'm sorry, I have very few people I know who were able to work for 2 or 3 years without getting paid. Like, not a reality-based scenario. So what does your business need to pay you? Okay, you personally, what does it cost to live your life? What does it cost to pay for your house? What does it cost to pay for your car? How much is your health insurance? What do your groceries cost? Oh my gosh, our groceries are expensive. What does it cost to live your life? And if you're not sure, maybe pull up your numbers, look at your bank statements for a little bit. Get clear on what it costs to live your life. And then double that. And the reason I say double that for your revenue goal, this is based on what Mike Michalowicz teaches in Profit First. A healthy business, 50% of the revenue will be take-home owner's pay. And I'll probably mess up the percentages, but it's something like 50% take-home owner's pay, 10% profit stays in the business, 15% taxes, and then the rest is operating expenses. If you haven't seen Profit First, read Profit First, highly, highly recommend. But that's the easiest way to get to that big enough business number in a way that takes care of you, gets your needs met, make sure you're taking care of yourself, make sure you're got enough of a budget for your operating expenses so you can pay people to support you, get that first assistant, get that housekeeper, like whoever you need on your team to help you, and make sure that you're able to be productive and focused on your zone of genius. Okay. And then once you get those two pieces, how many hours do you actually have available? And how big is your big enough business right now? Ask yourself, what does that need to look like? What now makes sense? What can you say no to? Chances are a lot more than you might think. So I hope that has been helpful for you. If you love this, please make sure you share today's Facebook Live with anybody that you think could benefit from hearing this message about a big enough business. It is just something I am so, so passionate about. And I want to let you know that I have just announced a brand new masterclass that ties beautifully into what we just talked about, designing a big enough business, called 3 Essential Strategies to Design a Predictably Profitable Business. It's all about making your business work for you, a business that actually fits your life and that brings you that consistency, that clients and cash flow that helps you to now build that steady paycheck, that makes a big enough business actually work. So you can join me for this masterclass at yoursweetspotstrategy.com. I would absolutely love to have you check that masterclass out. We've just heard so much great feedback about it already. Awesome. I'm going to stay on for a second and see if there were any other questions that I wanted to make sure I answered today. Yes, hello everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. Okay, these are good questions, and a couple of people have joined who are asking about what if we're wanting to stay home. And I'll go ahead and show this real quick because this is a great question. And a couple of people popped up and said this. Okay. Awesome. So a couple people asked this question, and I think it's a really valid, important question. What if we are wanting to stay home and we're looking for something? How do we find something that's not a scam and not a lot of money? So this is such a great question, Sarah, and anyone else who is in the position where you're wanting to do something where you can stay home and work. You're wanting to have your own business where you can work from home. One, there are about 1,000 ways to do this. There are so many. And one that you mentioned, like, is there a business you can apply to that you can work for? Sure, there's plenty of those out there. I have a lot of friends who do different types of direct sales businesses, and they really love the flexibility that it's kind of plugging into an existing business. And there's also a huge rise right now in what they're calling the gig economy. So if you are somebody who just wants to freelance, or you just want to do things on the side for other people, where you're not necessarily starting your own business, there's a lot of opportunity for that. In fact, I just posted a link. It was a Daily Worth article about the top 5 industries for women entrepreneurs that's growing. And a big one they talked about was the freelance economy. Like if you have any sort of skill set, you could be a virtual assistant, you could do freelance like graphic design, things like that. There's a lot of websites where, and we hire people like this all the time to do different things. We go to Upwork all the time, where I think you can put yourself up there to be a freelance person, or Fiverr. And if you have a skill set, those types of things are really great. You can plug into an existing company. So what I do, and the people that I help, are often people who are offering their experience and expertise and are creating their own business. So they're not joining somebody else's business or a pre-existing business. They're starting their business from scratch. And honestly, this is one of my favorite things, simply because I find so many women, y'all, women are the most underappreciated, underutilized talent in the world right now. Seriously. And especially if you're like me and you went through a whole stage where you're like, am I going to be on the mommy track if I stay in my corporate career? We are so underutilized and so underappreciated as talent. And there's so many opportunities for you to start your own business. Most of the women I work with, that's been part of the decision-making process for them. They knew that they wanted to start their own thing where they could fully control their schedule, their time. But the other side of that is you have to figure out, what are you offering? What, are people actually buying from you? What does your marketing look like? How do you put yourself out there? So a lot of the women that I work with are all coaches, teachers, consultants, freelancers. They're all offering their experience and expertise through often a service-based business or an information education-based business. And I think it's one of the biggest opportunities out there. In fact, it was awesome to hear when I saw that article from Daily Worth that they mentioned not only that the freelance economy was so big right now, but that coaching, consulting was so big and education was so big. That's doom, doom, doom. That's all stuff for me. Oh, that's fantastic. Somebody just said, Amy just says, check out Rev.com. We use that all the time for transcription. Yeah, there's a lot of sites out there that are looking for people to do those side gigs. which is a good option for you for sure. So I hope that helps a little bit. All right, you guys. I had so much fun today, and I'm so excited to be kicking off this weekly Facebook Live show. Make sure you put it in your calendar. It'll be Thursdays at noon Eastern. And thank you so much for joining me. I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care. Have a great